Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm Adrian Garcia, County Commissioner of Precinct 2. And we are in a very, very special place, but I'll get into that a little bit later. I am excited because we do have a special guest with us, and this is none other than Mr. Joey Guerra. Now, you may know Joey, but you may not know it's Joey. And so Joey has a very interesting background. He reports on like pop music, on I guess the theater environment, entertainment, on the LGBT community. And so I'm a big fan because I have been reading by Joey Guerra for a long time. And so just so you'll get to know a little bit more about him, I want to first welcome you, Joey. Thank you for doing this. And tell folks a little bit how Joey got to where Joey is at today.
Oh gosh, thank you first of all for having me. It started, I think, really started in college when I, switched my degree from chemical engineering to journalism.
Oh wow, that is a big change, man.
Yeah, literally from one day to the next. Started writing for the paper there, and then really just from there, everything started rolling. I ended up starting to write for the Chronicle while I was still in college.
Nice.
Which was, a little crazy being a college kid and writing for a big paper. And eventually worked my way into full-time on staff. Started officially as a music critic, but like you said, that's kind of evolved to include theater and the LGBT community, the drag community in Houston, lots of different things. Lots of fun stuff for the most part, yeah.
Wonderful.
Effective tomorrow, January 31st, the hospital, which has provided care to thousands of patients in Texas and Louisiana, will be closed forevermore. The closing of its doors will mark the end of one era and the beginning of another.
So, as I mentioned earlier, we are actually in a building known as the Thomas Street Clinic. And this building was built in 1910. One of the most significant things about this building, it was one of Houston's, if not Houston's first hospital, was that it served as the first freestanding HIV clinic for those who were inflicted with HIV/AIDS. To me, that's special because, my brother, my late brother, Gilberto, died of HIV/AIDS. And he died at a time when Texas was very, very unwelcoming and unforgiving to anyone inflicted with HIV. And so my brother, unfortunately, spent his last days in California. We couldn't bring him home to care for him here because he would have lost his health care benefits that he had in California. And so thankfully my parents were able to stay with him in those last days. But for that reason and for many others, because over my years I have just never appreciated bullying or ridiculing of any sort, that I have always felt to be, I guess, a natural ally. So, Joey, let's get started.
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn it over to you because I've talked enough. I know you got some questions for me. And as a reporter, you're used to asking questions. So,
For sure.
All right.
Pride Month is here. Every year we celebrate the LGBTQ plus community. You spoke a little bit about your brother. Why has it continued to be important for you to be an ally, not just, in conversation, but in action?
Yeah. So first of all, my brother didn't have to be a part of my story for me to have the role of being an ally.
Yeah.
I'm an ally at heart and will be an ally till death.
You were responsible for the Pride Month resolution in Harris County. You were the first
one.
You were the first sheriff to walk in a pride parade, right?
That's right.
How much of a challenge in any way were those things, knowing sometimes that people aren't as accepting or affirming?
Well, the resolution, not so much, because I think, there was already history with City Hall having done some of that. But when I walked in the first Pride Parade, as the sheriff of the county.
Yeah.
Adding to it that I was the first first person of color to be the sheriff in the history of Harris County. So I'd already broken one ceiling, and that was welcoming, exciting for some, not so much for others. But then when I participated in the Pride Parade, it was, I got a lot of blowback. And people resented that I was there, that for some reason, they saw that the sheriff shouldn't be participating in a parade of that nature.
Wow.
And so I did get a lot of hate, if you will, over that. But that's the reason why the subsequent participations in the parade got even better and bigger for the Harris County Sheriff's Office. And I'm so proud to see Sheriff Gonzalez continuing in that direction.
Yeah.
You know, one of my staff members that was with me when I first participated, in tears told me that she used to watch the parade, but had to wear a jacket, a cap, and pull it down over her face because she had been told that if she was ever caught at the parade, that the sheriff would fire her. And so now to be openly participating in the pride next to the sheriff was a very special moment for her.
Yeah.
And then we just made sure to be much more welcoming as we move forward on the subsequent pride parades.
I think it's very different for someone who's watching the parade than for someone who's in the parade in the middle of everything going on. What is that feeling like of being in the center of everything happening at once?
It is undescribable. It's just one of the most energetic, exciting events that you can ever participate in, but you feel love while you're in it. And so it's just one of the most special events I've ever participated in.
What do you say to somebody who maybe has a family member who's part of the community and is maybe struggling to accept them or love them for who they are because you went through that firsthand? What is the key to sort of managing and making that relationship not just sustain but grow?
Yeah, I will tell you that I love my father. I will always love my father. But I remember the stress that existed between my brother and my father.
Yeah.
And I really don't think, because my father never said anything explicit to my brother being gay. But I think he was trying to understand what was going on and why he appeared to be different.
Yeah.
But it did cause stress. And so what I would say is that, look, you cut any one of us, we bleed. We breathe the same air. We live in the same community. We work in the same places. And so there is absolutely nothing different about any one of us.
Yeah.
So let's get over trying to find what's different and just find what brings us together.
Yeah.
And look, one of the easiest things to do, and so I do, you know, as I mentioned, when my brother was in his last days, my father was very, very eager to be with him.
Yeah.
And so one of the best things to do is talk.
Yeah.
You know, just talk and ask questions, but be willing to listen.
Right.
And don't just ask the question and then go on to the next question. Be willing to listen and understand. Do your best to understand. And at the end of the day, you're going to find out that we're human. We're all
Right.
We're all in it together. So.
Right. Yeah, I think that's so important because even for me growing up, I think if I had had somebody, you know, in an authoritative figure or a parental figure that really stopped and listened and understood and saw what I was going through, you know, it would have made so many things so much easier, you know? I mean, I grew up, I think, like so many people, getting bullied and finding different ways to walk home to avoid certain people and, you know, not wanting to be too loud or too, you know, quote unquote gay because, you know, I knew what was going to happen if that happened. Yeah. So, you know, I think we internalize a lot of that and people don't know what you're going through, you know, unless you tell them, but if someone isn't receptive, that message is never going to come across.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I will just tell you that I want to always do my best to ensure that I am creating greater inclusion and acceptance and respect for all communities. And so whatever that could be, just know that I have an open mind and open ears.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to not just see people within the community being supportive and being active, but being an ally and being supportive and active and visible and letting people know, hey, my door's open, I'm here for you, this is what we're about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one of the exciting things that when I was sheriff, we created the Safe Space program. And that allowed deputies who participated in the training program to be liaisons with the community. I think all of us, every one of us, needs to be that liaison and create that safe space so that if there's another young person out there that's trying to figure and navigate their lives and their way, we can help facilitate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just bears repeating. I can't stress enough how important it is to have people outside of the community and for the community to know that they're there, in things like participating in the Pride Parade, even something as simple as that, showing up to the Pride Parade, a parent showing up with their kid, something like that, a partner, anything. I mean, those things make such a huge difference, not just I think for the person, but for maybe somebody watching or a younger person watching.
Yeah. Well, again, it's always important for us to seek out those opportunities and to make sure that we are all allies and advocates and supporters and defenders to the LGBT community and all communities in general. So what would you say to people about your earlier struggles, but your journey, your walk to get to where you're at today?
Yeah, it was tough, it was really tough. I was thinking about this earlier today because I was writing something similar about Pride Month. And, it was tough to, I think at the time when you're 10, 11, 12 years old and you're thinking, I can't be this way for the rest of my life, I would go in the bathroom and kind of do this prayer to myself every night that, I'm going to get married to a woman, I'm going to have kids, all that kind of thing. This was just a phase. I think so many people do that, But I think for me, it really just became about, for better or worse, putting my head down and just moving forward as best as I could until I got to a place where I found other people who were like me, other people who supported me, other people who looked like me, who, were part of the LGBTQ plus community, and I think that's so important is for young people to have somebody that they can look to, and it doesn't have to be a person that they talk to every day, a best friend. It can be something as simple as a TV show, seeing representation on a screen somewhere. I mean, I never had that when I was a kid. I would have loved to have had that, and I think for me, it's just become about, pushing through the challenges as best as I can, learning from it, and just using that to make me stronger as I move forward.
Would that be your message to the younger Joey?
I think so. I think the message to the younger Joey would be, don't try to change who you are, because no matter how much you try, no matter how long you can go being somebody that you're not, it's always going to come back around to who you really are. And that's what happened with me, I mean, I tried to suppress and push away and lie for as long as I could. And, eventually you become the person you were meant to be anyway. So.
Well, we're glad you are Joey. We are so proud of you and excited for your success. And so, you kind of touched on it, that there are still other Joeys and other individuals that are still trying to navigate their next steps. What advice, or I guess, is there a program, or is there something, me as commissioner should be thinking about that we ought to be advocating for within school districts, with their other institutions, whether they're public health departments?
Yeah.
What are we missing that would help a younger Joey today?
I think, something like Hatch, which does great work
Oh, yeah.
with the Montrose Center, that's really important for young kids because they have a place that they can go and be themselves and not worry about, who's seeing them or what they look like or what they're wearing. I think programs like that would, be huge in schools, out of schools, something where kids can just be themselves, because I think when you're growing up gay or lesbian or trans or queer, you kind of grow up holding your breath for your entire life. That's what it feels like you're holding your breath. And when you finally get to a place where you can be yourself, you exhale, That's what it feels like. And sometimes even to this day, I'm doing things or certain things happen and I can feel myself clench up and I don't realize I'm doing it until I have to consciously tell myself to just let go. You're not that little kid anymore. You're not that person anymore. So I think, programs and initiatives where kids can kind of see other kids that are like them and be themselves and not have to worry, those things I think would be so invaluable in the city.
Something important to keep thinking about.
Yeah.
Good deal. So tell us about, a final question for you. Tell us about your journey as a dad, your journey as the father to what seems to be an amazing young man, Emerson. What would you say?
I think growing up, it's probably something I never thought could happen or would happen for me, being a gay man. You just don't, that's not kind of in your brain at all, but, and I think partly because there are so many obstacles to it, or there seem to be. But, my husband and I adopted Emerson, and we've had him since the day he was born, took him home from the hospital, and it's just been, I think, the greatest thing I've ever done. I mean, I think parents say that all the time, but it really is. It turns you into a completely different person. And, I think we've always kind of strived to make sure Emerson knows who we are, not hide who we are, not hide that we're together. We want him to be proud of us, proud of our family. And we do things together. I think a lot of times when you become a parent, you think, oh, I can't do this because I have a kid. I think our mindset was always, well, we're gonna do this because we have a kid, we're just gonna bring him with us every single time that we can. And it's really, I think, made a difference. And it's, it's made me happy. It's crazy and frustrating and, hard, but it, it's great.
Wonderful. Well, listen, I in the quick meeting of Emerson, I think you're doing phenomenal.
Thank you.
And I got to take some lessons from you with my daughter, although she's a little older now. But anyway, continued success. I want to thank you, Joey, for joining us, and thank you for sharing your story, your journey, your success, and the new chapters of being like a dad as well with us. And we continue to celebrate you, both as a member of the LGBT community, but also as a leader in the fine arts. And so thank you for all that you do and for how you make us here in Houston, in Harris County, in the region, even better.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Happy Pride,
Happy
everybody.
Pride.
Yes.